And so if you and I have never met, and you say, Dave, hey man, what do you do for like, hey man, I'm in marketing. Oh, that's really cool. What's that like? Well, hey, I talk to companies like yours and identify kind of where they're at. They usually are very good at what they do, but a little bit lost on the core competencies. Oh, I'm sorry, they know the core competencies, a little lost on the rest of the stuff, and that's kind of realistic or unreasonable here in marketing. So we have an honest conversation about what it looks like to help them achieve their goals and where they want to be in their business. Simple, right?
All right, welcome back to another episode of the Marketing Stuff Podcast, where we help you figure out this marketing game without it being so stressful and complicated. I'm Maurice Davis, your host and on-demand CMO, and I want to welcome you to the village. If this is your first time, welcome. And if you're coming back, hey, sit down. Let's get into this. We have an amazing guest today that has a very interesting background. He's been gaining attention all his life, from graffiti art into the boardroom and then throwing up marketing campaigns. I'm so excited to have a gentleman here that has a background in web development, web design, management, copywriting, social search engine optimization, and the list goes on. I don't know if he knows this, but we're both a part of the American Marketing Association. Woo woo. Yeah. David, thank you so much for coming onto the show today.
Amen. The AMA,
yes,
right?
Yes.
You know we had a gang sign.
Yes, absolutely, man. I'm so glad to have you. As a side note, for anybody keeping track, I did meet David on TikTok. So if you're keeping track and you know the number that how many guests we brought in from TikTok, go ahead, shoot me over an email at marketinggrowthstrategy.com with the name of the show and the number guest for the TikTok, and I'll enter you into a drawing to win a Blue Yeti microphone, this bad boy right here, right? So you can win that. Just send me that email and we'll get your name in the drawing. All right, David, that's how we do it around here. We just try to keep it fun, keep it light.
Yeah.
So,
well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. And there's something to be said about the power of TikTok, where it's not just bringing exposure to yourself, but it's making really dope connections.
Yeah. And what's funny is, like, I've made more connections on TikTok in a year than I have on LinkedIn in my lifetime. And I don't know if it's because TikTok is so informal and LinkedIn for a really long time has been hyper formal.
Yeah, a huge stick in the butt. Yeah,
it's starting to make a shift, and I'm definitely starting to have more natural connections. But I've always felt like being on LinkedIn, like you had to have a reason to reach out to people.
It was very stuffy, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's an expert and everyone is the professional. Yep. And dude, would you stop?
Yeah,
it's not necessary. No, because that's not real. It's like I've been to a billion conventions. You meet top, if you would, very famous people, very popular people who've done all the business in the world. And when you sit down at a bar with them, they're regular people. Yeah. They don't want to be spoken to the way that people present themselves online, which is why the way I am the way
I am. Absolutely. Now, I don't do a ton of conventions. I need to get better about it. But the few that I've been to, it's always been like, you are just so different than you are online. And it's interesting. Like, I love that when people meet me, they're like, oh, you're the same dude. Like, yeah, I'm the same
that
dude.
Ultimately is that's the authenticity. Yep. And it gives you that authority.
We're going to get into that. We're going to get into that.
But you are you all the time. And it makes it easy.
Yes.
Because you're not having to put on a show. You're just getting to be yourself.
No, absolutely. And as much as I love a little bit of a performance every now and then, I think people know that, like, you're turning it on for a specific purpose. And I can respect that for this place. Like, when I'm on stage, I'm me turned up, right? It's not a different me. I'm just like, it's like when you run, you can only sprint for so long. I can only be that version of me for so long. And an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours on stage, I can do that. But if you tried to show me all the time, I would definitely burn out. Like, that's not me. I'm a much more chill dude. But I like to have fun. And speaking of having fun, your background is interesting. So, graffiti artist to marketer.
Yeah,
Talk to us about that a little bit.
it was a interesting transition. So I've been doing graffiti since I was a kid. I'm originally from Brooklyn, and so it was kind of within me. You're surrounded by art and creativity at all times. Moved to Florida, and for what it's worth, man, I'm officially a Floridian. Okay, I can smell the rain coming,
Okay.
and I've been through my fair share of hurricanes, right?
Wow.
But but I've always been artistic. I've always been creative, and so my buddy Sean Perslow was like, "Hey man, that's pretty cool. You think you should put that on the computer?" I said, "What you talking about?" Yeah, there's a program called Photoshop,
Mm,
and in Photoshop you can like do designs online. And I was like, "Oh, that's kind of cool." And I try to give him as much credit as I absolutely can, because if it wasn't for him telling me about Photoshop, and this is in an era where it just wasn't completely out there, I wasn't even in the industry.
yeah.
But it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. He's one of a handful of people that really were, pivotal in really making sure that I found my way where I wanted to go. So I got Photoshop. I'm like, it's kind of cool. Then he's like, hey man, we should try designing websites. And I remember putting my first website design out, and it was in a forum at the time, and the guys were like, "This is the ugliest website I have ever seen." I was like, "No, they what?" Now I'm a creative. I was like, "You insulted me," and so I'm gonna show you. And I went back to the drawing board and became very aggressive with it.
Yeah.
And I decided to be more intentful about how I'm creating sites and being creative and staying on the edge and
Yep.
doing things that other people weren't doing, because inherently by nature, it's what for a graffiti artist, like graffiti artists play by a different rule book.
Yep.
You are constant competition. Everything's a competition. Even if you don't think you are, you're in competition. And so I wasn't competing with other designers. I was competing with myself to be better. That led into I figured design and and macro media fireworks before Adobe bought Fireworks. It was Macro Media. That was a company. Macro Media also owned Dreamweaver.
Dreamweaver.
You used to export the code. You would take your designs, you'd slice it, and export the code, and I need to make changes. And so that's how I learned HTML, was going through there. And then from that point, I got a job with a pay-per-click search engine before Google took over the world, called FindWhat.com. I was with them for quite some time, and that was the introduction to the true internet world where search marketing kind of came into play. Over the years, then I just kind of made that transition from designer to developer to doing app development, which I realized that even though I'm capable of doing it, I don't enjoy doing
Yeah.
it. But I saw it, I wanted to tackle it, I wanted to overcome it. And then, grew in my corporate world, man. I transitioned over into becoming a marketing manager, then marketing director, then you become a VP of marketing, and then I got hired on to be a consultant, and I really enjoyed the consulting world and owning my own agency.
Yeah.
So
Now,
I just got tired of working for corporate America.
did you did you end up working with like Harley and Amax as a consultant
Yeah, as a
okay.
consultant. Yeah. So essentially, I was freelancing, and I had some really cool projects I got to work on and partner with some other companies as well, for doing some kind of marketing campaigns for Harley Davidson. That was really exciting, and God, that really threw me into the explorative, just kind of innovative side of marketing,
Yeah.
where everyone's doing the same thing. What can we do to deliver a different experience for other people? And when you're able to do that and you make it fun, you get a bunch of bikers to get involved, and they are enjoying it. I won. I was like, I'm in it. American Express is a pretty interesting story as well, as helping them out early on with the development of the Open Forum, which was their small business advisory
Yes.
network. If you remember that, but I was one of the first of, I was one of 35, their first 35, essentially, when they launched the program. I launched with them, and then we helped out with development and some other things with Amex. That was pretty interesting. Then I worked for iHeartRadio, Macy's, Linens and Things, but like in all of that, and I tell people these things like it's pretty cool, but it was still corporate America, and like my heart really lies in working with like everyday people.
Yeah. So I don't have that same type of experiences. So I'm not gonna be like I've been there. I've done some work with like GoDaddy. Uh, don't lo-
Oh
don't
yeah.
love it. Right? Didn't love it. Right? Had my time in corporate America with like Geico, State Farm, working in sales, and then State Farm on the agency side. So I used to do insurance, and so you do the
Mm.
marketing stuff there.
You see, listen, I was in that world too. I had a lot of clients in the insurance space. In fact, I was the marketing director for the large FMO in the
Mm,
nation for the health insurance side. This was United Healthcare before United Healthcare bought out that
right.
company. So the insurance space, that's another funny thing to advertise. What an interesting space to be in. Uh, that might be another conversation for
Yeah,
another
we
day.
we might have to get there. I want to work with insurance agents so bad, but I don't want to deal with the compliance so bad.
Compliance and budget, because the everyday agent who's like the independent agent that's on a solo run, they're not going to have the budget to be worth your time, to be honest. But you get those larger agencies that may have they have a call center, or they've got a good nest of people underneath them. You've got a little more wiggle room, if you would. You've got a little bit more
Yeah,
power and definitely a budget that you can work with to make it worth the
and
time.
and to be fair, when I say the agents, I really mean like the Merrill Lynch folks, not.
That's tough. Oh, that's tough, dude.
Yeah,
Oh, listen, man,
listen. So
they're compliant heavy. You can't do
yeah,
anything
I
for
worked
them.
for. I was a Merrill Lynch financial advisor.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so
Okay. Just go name drop like that. I
yeah,
got
yeah.
it.
Well, I don't talk about it much because I don't. I just don't. Right, but
Right.
it that's why I left. Was the heavy compliance. It was so bad, right? We talk about creativity and like you're like, I wanted to go against the grain. Man, it took me 2 months, 3 months to get them to let me put a little coffee symbol on the front that just said coffee on me on my business card. And essentially was like, hey, if you show me this, I'll buy you a coffee, sit down, have coffee with me. Right. After our VP of marketing essentially was like, we have agents doing a much more intense version of like sending people gift cards. Uh, and compliance told me no for the sending gift cards, but they were like, we can figure something out. And it took them like 3 months to approve a business card change. It was nuts. It was nuts. I was like,
It's
this is ridiculous.
right. Like, well, they're handcuffing you, right? At that point, you really like the little thing that'll make a dramatic difference in your business those little things that you were trying to do. They're not really helping agents out. They're really limiting them.
No, and I can respect why they do it because they're under banking and SEC, so they get it from all angles, right? Any compliance agency around financial, they're getting hit by it. So I respect them for that, but that's enough about compliance because other folks on this
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they'll be like, what the heck?
Ain't trying to put them to sleep now. I got you.
Yeah, but
Yeah, man.
you posted a video the other day on TikTok about you were sitting on the beach, looked like you should have been sipping Mai Tais, but apparently you caught something on TikTok uh, from my friends over at Think Media, and you just basically was like ripping into this video about like telling people what they should do without really giving them any inkling how to do it. So, like, talk about that. Why is that? Why was that such a
Okay.
big deal for
Let
you?
me All right, so I'll give you a little context. Um, my wife and I we're a beach family. I live minutes from the beach.
Hmm.
I'm tropical. Couldn't tell. So I'm gonna be on the beach, and we take turns watching our infant. And so he was asleep underneath, the umbrella. So I wasn't gonna just go in the water. I was sitting there, so I was gonna, all right, let me just scroll through
Yeah.
while he's taking a nap, and they're all enjoying themselves. So that's how I ended up on TikTok. So when I watched that video, there was a part of me that was I guess I'm just tired of people saying, "Oh, well, you need to innovate and you need to be creative." Well, duh. Okay, I get it. But how? Like, is it helpful to tell people what to do or the how and why? Like that is what's going to make an impact. Hey man, you really need to go to the gym. No kidding. I know I got to go work out, but hey, if I can educate you on how to do it, it's not as hard as you think it's going to be. There's little things that you can do that'll make a lasting impact. That makes a
Yep.
difference. And for me, I just get tired of it, man. All these people that are experts that stand up on a stage that talk like very, very, very high level, and I get it, man. They want to sell a book or a
There
course
you
or
go.
something. So be it.
There you go.
But
That's the
I,
trick there.
I can't be mad at
Yeah.
that. But listen, man, like my game has always been this. I'm gonna give free advice all day long. If you're gonna do it yourself, God bless you for doing it. Awesome. You are the fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent that could. But if you realize that I have the knowledge and the experience and the ability to deliver what you need, and I demonstrated that to you, and I gave you that plan, you're probably just going to hire me instead to do it, aren't you?
Yeah.
So that's my approach. I will sit with any single person, any company, anybody. I'm going to give advice because the worst that could happen is that they don't hire me, but they did something for themselves. I did a good thing.
Yeah.
I helped somebody else out. That's my purpose, which matters more to me than chasing the paper.
Okay. No, I think, and that's probably why you and I click so well right away, because I live a very similar philosophy. Like, I'm gonna get mine. Like, I'm not gonna worry about, you know, the fact that I posted on TikTok my and I air quote this because there's no secrets, but my secret formula to building a landing page. Like, bro,
Yeah.
I learned it from somewhere, right? What, like,
Right. But like people trigger, they hear the word secret formula, it engages them, pulls them
yeah,
in. I don't fault anyone for using words that cause reaction.
absolutely not, absolutely not. I think it would be, the intelligent marketer knows that those things do that, and they will continue to use those. But I think this idea of holding back information because you want to
Gatekeeping.
sell a book, or because you want, like, that stuff's ridiculous. Now, I will caveat that. I signed up for Alex Hermosi's $100 million leads. I'm pretty excited for him to drop the book. And he when you sign up for his list, for anybody listening, if you want to go check it out, go over to acquisition.com, put your name in, you'll see the email that I'm talking about. But when you sign up for his email, he sends you a confirmation email that I would say is probably up there in the top 5 to 10% of confirmation emails, with the amount of open loops that he creates, with the amount of curiosity that he drives in this confirmation email, just to get you to respond to improve his deliverability and your buy-in to the list. And I think we as professionals sometimes will we ride this fence of gatekeeping versus curiosity, intrigue, open loops. So how do you balance that? How do you balance that?
That's fear, bro. That's fear. That's fear that you give someone what they need and they go away. And the truth is, the numbers don't lie. That they come back, bro. They come back. They absolutely do. Um, I find that these people that gatekeep and they don't give you absolutely everything are very much inexperienced.
Mm,
And that might be inexperienced in business. Maybe it's inexperienced emotionally.
yeah.
Maybe it's inexperienced in a level that in their own lives where they were able to provide something of use to someone else, and they're afraid of losing that, and so they hold on to what they find to have value.
Mm, okay.
um, and you've got to be able to deliver all of it to people. Give them everything that they want, so long as it's not detrimental to your health or your time. Because you're tied up, you're tied up. But
Right.
I say the opposite then becomes true, is that you don't become a gatekeeper. You are a bridge builder, and you make it easy to get from point A to point B. And that's where you start to get more value. That's where you create long lasting fanatics of your business and what you have to offer.
Yeah. So this is I'm looking at this book right now, and it kind of hits me. The What you're talking about kind of reminds me of like Russell Brunson. And I'm not I'm I would not say that I am like a Russell Brunson fanatic. I think
Hmm.
I I'll be honest, and this might be a some people might feel some way about this, but I think he's done equivalent to, if not more, for marketing as Dan Kennedy and Frank Kern.
Mm,
Uh, because he made marketing accessible.
yes, and I'm going to agree with you. And that inherently then kind of aligns with our philosophy on enabling people. And it's in that enablement that we find that the greatest results are going to come for complete strangers, for people we would never, ever, ever meet. Um, and that matters more to me, man. I sleep really, really, really well at night, knowing that I gave that day all that I could to everyone I absolutely was able to give to.
Yeah.
And so, running a business in that same way, uh, yes, I'm completely aligned with what you're saying, man. Enabling people to do the things they otherwise couldn't do for themselves is just it's commendable.
So if I am a new marketer or a service business owner, how do I take what we're saying right now and package that into something that's actionable for me to go off and do something with that? What would be the three things that I could do right now to start applying this philosophy of kind of setting the info free and
There's
enabling
like 1,000 tips, bro.
just
So
a
many,
couple.
and I'm gonna try to bring it in to the things that I find that will get the
Yeah.
furthest. First and foremost, um, understanding the psychology of marketing. You've heard me say that probably a few times now in my posts. It's the area that I thrive in. It's understanding how humans behave and react. And so in that, I mean, it's best for you to understand your audience. What are their problems? What are their concerns? What are their issues? What are they thinking? What are they feeling? Where are they at in their life when they need you? And so if you're a plumber and you understand someone needs you because maybe they are in a remodeling project,
Yeah.
or maybe they are in an emergency situation where they need someone to help them with their plumbing. You put yourself in a place where you want to help them, give them all the information that you can give them, fully understanding they may never hire you, but it actually creates this credibility about you.
Yep.
And so, number one, I say is understand your audience and who you're speaking to, and know the ins and outs of who they are.
Okay.
The the second thing I would say is becoming comfortable in front of the camera, and by in front I mean just in the recording. Some people say they hate the sound of their voice. I think the sound of my voice brings me money. It's just changed the perspective of the way you hear that. But ultimately, you've got to be willing to do whatever it takes. I mean, listen, if you're doing social media for yourself or your business, you're probably a low startup, right? The CEO of a very big company is more than likely not shooting TikToks for his very large corporation. And so that means that you're in a place in your business where there's an opportunity for growth, and that sometimes you have to wear multiple
Yep.
hats. And this is probably going to mean that you're going to have to get in front of the camera. And so that means then you need to be consistent. And you heard this before: consistency, consistency, consistency. Even if it's consistently bad, just be consistent. That will break all the bad habits. Just keep doing it. It's like baseball, man. It's getting reps. I think, God, did I post this the other day? Was I in the middle of post and not post this? I'm thinking out loud now. Where it comes down to, it genuinely comes down to getting reps and trying and trying and trying and doing it. Even if it's bad, you're gonna find the groove, man. And at some point, your swing is gonna be fantastic, and you're gonna hit a home run. And so, yes, please get all the reps that you can. And then you wanted a third. The third is going to be grace and truth. It's a bit of a biblical principle, but I think it applies to all lives. Jesus tells us to be able to deliver the truth to people, but with grace, and vice versa, is to have grace, but to also be truthful. And so, what I mean by that is be kind to yourself. Be kind to yourself. Like, you're going to mess up, you're going to say things wrong, you're going to do things wrong, you're going to make mistakes, things are going to go bad. And you've got to be honest because you know what? I did make a mistake, but it's not the end of the world. I'm going to get back up and I'm going to do it again. And then you're going to do it again, and you're going to do it again. And you'll find that at some point, that when you are honest with yourself while giving yourself grace, you tend to not make the same mistakes again. You're limiting the number of mistakes, and you're starting to actually look and know like you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
So those would be the three things.
I like those. And I will say for my listeners, or if you're watching this on YouTube, the amount of mistakes I have made is biblical. Uh, I
Oh man.
and one of the best parts about creating videos and content is that you can go back and look and you're like, man, I was dumb.
Oh man. But
Because you can see your evolution path. So I love that you said. I love what you said about getting comfortable in front of the camera, as far as the business owner aspect. But I'll also say uh, for any of my younger marketers, and when I say younger, I mean younger in experience. You are going to have a hard time remembering where you came from, and there are going to be days where like nothing's working and you might question your ability. And if you have these things, you can go back and see like I've grown, I've evolved, and that could be the thing that like keeps you from snapping, right? And wanting to and hand in the towel. So if for nothing else, not because you want to make money, but because for you to create your own personal journey documentation. So I appreciate you for sharing those three. Um, so then, how does one go about? Let me reel that back in a little bit. I kind of getting on this idea of people not sharing the how. I I think part of me wants to believe that there are folks that know that are capable of executing and building ad campaigns or making landing pages, but they're really horrible at communicating it to people. Like I can't really bottle up and distill what I do. I just can see it and know that this makes sense when I see it, especially like my friends of mine that do more like videography. They tend to be really bad at like describing how like how they came up with the concept for a shot. They're just like it just kind of makes sense. So how do you distill down your expertise, especially when you've been doing it for a really long time and you kind of have gotten to that
It's
point
like,
of unconsciously skilled?
brother, it's like you were just in my phone because the video I'm about to post on TikTok talks a little bit about this. And it stemmed from my hatred towards people that sound the same on TikTok. Here are the top 5 places I visited when I was in Orlando, and number one. And they all have this very basic monotone sound. I'm like, oh, you're so boring. I hate it. Why? You're so two dimensional. Why would I follow you? There's no connection. And so the tip that I'm giving in this, um, and I'm glad my TikTok is going to come out before you post this, is it's in our tone. And you have to, like, the trick I take is that you have to act as if the camera or there's someone on the other side of that camera that like you went to high school with,
Yep.
and you're sitting at a bar and you hadn't spoken to them in a long time, and you have to explain to them what you do. And that forces you to have a simplified conversation.
Mm.
And so if you and I have never met, and you say, Dave, hey man, what do you do for like, hey man, I'm in marketing. Oh, that's really cool. What's that like? Well, hey, I talk to companies like yours, and identify kind of where they're at. They usually are very good at what they do, but a little bit lost on their core competencies. Oh, I'm sorry, they know the core competencies, a little lost on the rest of the stuff, and that's kind of unrealistic or unreasonable to think that they're going to know what to do with marketing. So we have an honest conversation about what it looks like to help them achieve their goals and where they want to be with their business. Simple, right? And that can apply really to any sort of industry or business that you're going to talk about. So if it was like photography or videography, then pretend that I'm the other guy on the other end of the bar, and I haven't talked to you in years, man. How's your mom and them?
Yeah.
And great, they're good. And then explain what you do, simply put, and whatever that message is across. Oh yeah, so it's really simple. There's some really neat settings on the camera that let me adjust lights, and yes, I was inspired by a movie that I saw. And the movie kind of had it's like, oh, I think I know how to recreate that, and that was my process,
Yep.
and that's how I found ways to win, is recreating things that inspired me.
I like that. But
It's a
I would go so far as to say that requires a level of self-awareness that I think sometimes we get so stuck. Actually, hopefully my book's coming out in a couple weeks. And
boom.
well, by the time this is published, if that book ain't out, something's gone horribly wrong.
I can hold you accountable if you'd like.
Yeah, man.
I'll do it.
Actually, the formatter just messaged me a little while ago and told me that it's ready. So, but we get so stuck on the tactical components that a lot of entrepreneurs and marketers, and I stress that because you might be listening to this and you're not an entrepreneur, you work for somebody else, and so you're like, oh, that's not me. No, I'm talking to you too. You forget to focus on your why and your values, and so like you said, there's no connection, it's hollow. I know there are some things that I'm just not going to do, and I don't care how much money is on the table. I'm just not going to do that, right? I believe in transparency and marketing. And so if you come see me at an event that I'm pitching on stage and I'm going to try to sell you something at the end, I'm going to tell you at the beginning. At the end of this, I'm going to ask you if you want to buy something from me. Does anybody have a problem if I deliver beyond your expectations, me giving you the opportunity to work with me one-on-one? And the answer should be no, right? Like,
Right.
if you crush my expectations, then yeah, I think that is fair. And usually I say, is it fair that if I exceed your expectations, that I show you how you can work with me one-on-one, right?
Because nobody wants to be unfair.
Correct. There's definitely some.
You must have read the same book I read. Those magic words, right? That's in my list of books I tell people about.
Yeah. Which one is that?
Magic word. I'll find out. I'll dig through my
I don't.
folders. Notes.
I don't think I have read that one, but it talks about it in a couple things, and there's some research studies out there that talk about certain words. Fair is one, and also sorry.
Yes.
Sorry is another one. So for my marketing folks out there, don't be afraid to say sorry about something. Right? It doesn't even have to be relevant.
Yes. It acts humility. Again, we're talking about psychology. The world that I love to live in and have these types of conversations is what causes people to do things the way that they do them.
Yes.
The book is called Magic Words, Know Exactly What to Say. And essentially, these are driven for like sales, but very much could be used for marketing purposes. And it's in there somewhere.
Yeah.
About
it's on my
nobody wants to be on.
It's on my wish list, so I'll definitely now move it up to my next purchase. But yes, it very much so, living in a space of transparency. And when I was a younger marketer, there were certain tactics that just felt uneasy for me. Like, no matter how many times I practiced them as a salesperson, no matter how many times I practiced them, they just didn't work. They didn't work for me. And leaders that I worked with, like, you just got to keep practicing them. And then as I matured, I was like, I realized they don't work for me, not because of practice thing. I can technically execute them, but I don't believe them. Right. And no matter how hard you push on something that you don't believe, you'll never be able to execute it at the level of somebody that has belief. Right. And so as you're figuring all of your stuff out, you need to spend time figuring out what is it that I believe and what is it that I value, because my business needs to emulate those things in order for me to build something of substance.
And it's crazy. The moment you're able to do that, the more comfortable your potential client becomes because they can read you. So much of trust is built, and for what it's worth, my book that's coming out has to do with trust. And essentially, it's like by human nature, we can read one another, and I can look at your body language, I can look at your face, the way you move your mouth and your eyes, the way you look. All of it has to do with trust. And so, when you have that honest conversation with someone, they can tell, they can read through it, man. And when you believe it, it's easy to speak with that belief, and people pick up on it, and you'll find people will be far more comfortable with you.
I mean, on top of the fact that you're just more comfortable, right? And like all of that stuff, really, especially in person. And if you, oh, what is it? If you've never read it, it's a book called Seven Levels of Communication. It's the book as a whole is not very good, but the seven levels concept is phenomenal, and it talks about how the levels that you have of communication essentially dictate your ability to like close that prospect, right?
Yeah.
And face to face, in person is the highest level, and you have a higher chance of building a solid relationship and developing a sale from that relationship versus shooting somebody a text, right? And I think while it's inherently like duh, but when you see it laid out, you're like, okay, now when I think about communication or even some of the marketing, it's like, how do I get you from seeing a blog post to getting you on a webinar to then getting you in a meeting with me so that I can try to close you versus not figuring out why none of this stuff is working or having a path to close, when now it's a much more normal feel when you're like, oh, I'm trying to move them from one level to the next. Right.
Yeah. I mean, all of those other forms of communication is just less personable.
Absolutely.
And I think it's fair to say that it then becomes a risk to reward scenario where I can either mass text message people and hope that I get some responses, or invest my time in going one by one and talking to people to try to create a real relationship. I guarantee if I'm going to close the deal. I bat 1,000. I'm going to close the deal. You put me in a room, I'm closing the deal one way or another.
Oh,
That's it.
I
And not just because I'm a great
no.
salesperson, or like because I will win no matter what. Whether it's if you got the money, I'm definitely closing the deal. If you don't have the money, I'm still going to guide you in the right
Yep.
direction to go help you and tell you what to do to get you that money. That when you got the money, you're going to call me to help you the rest of the way.
Yeah. I'm right there with you. I don't bat 1,000. I'm not quite that good, but 300. Like
But so that's why I say 1,000, bro. Right? I call it 1,000 because no matter what, I'm still doing good for others. Right? Like if the goal is to get a win for that person,
yes,
I bat 1,000. Either you're going to get the deal with me and I'm going to help you and do what I know what to do best, or I'm going to tell you everything you need to do and hope that at some point you're going to convert. But one way or another, I win.
Yep.
Always.
You know what I find to be like I don't know why, but it's like my goal is and anybody listening to this that does sales, you're going to be like, what? My goal is to convince you not to, right? Not to work with me. And if at the end of the conversation, you're still convinced that you want to work with me, then stuff's going to work out. I probably started that at the end of 2021 when I realized I was taking on clients that just didn't make sense. And I was,
oh God, I've been there.
And I hated them. And
worst, can't stand your ass.
Yeah. And you know what? I wasn't doing them justice because they weren't getting the best version of me. And they weren't doing me justice because I didn't really enjoy the projects. They were just easy, right? I was doing
it's just money.
Yep, I was doing a lot of local SEO, and while I still, if you're a local business, that should be your jam. If you're a bake shop, that's your focus right now is local SEO,
yeah.
right? You kill that because that's gonna take you really far. I've actually worked with some bakeries and things here in my town, and it huge impacts.
Can we help people out real quick
Yeah.
now? Companies are ranging anywhere between about $700 to about $1,500 a month to begin with for SEO service. local companies are starting around that price. That's the beginning introductory price. So you understand what's coming. You're going to pay anywhere between $700 to $1,500 a month to get started on SEO.
Mm.
If it's more than that, more than likely it's a larger company. They have far more experience. They do a lot more work. I'm not saying no to not take them. I'm saying expect to know what's coming down the road. Do some of the things you can do on your own.
Yep.
Realize when you say, I can't do this.
Yep.
And then you have to be willing to pay the money. But if you're a local business, like a local bakery, invest in that. You will make the money.
Yes.
I promise you.
Absolutely. And I would even, some of the stuff you can do on your own is like, set those profiles up. Like
Be consistent.
Like just
simple things.
Just start the Google profile. Like just like you gotta at least be on the board. You gotta be on the board to play the game. You're not even on the board yet. Nobody can pick you because you're not on the roster. But yes, so those are some of the things that have really contributed to. I'll be honest, I don't even know what the hell I was talking about now. I lost my train of thought.
SEO. You asked the wrong person, man. I got ADHD,
yeah,
bro.
Man, I'm usually better. I was like, where was I going?
I threw you way off.
That's all right. That's how it is. Sometimes we were talking about how to package our thoughts a little bit better. So for you, one of the things that I have been focused on. Well, let me rewind that back a little bit. David, if somebody wanted to work with you, what does your ideal client look like? Where do you thrive?
I love working with the small company. And by small company, that means having a handful of employees. They've got a healthy budget, and by healthy, I mean it's something to work with. They're established, tapped out on their resources a little bit. They maybe have somebody on the inside. Maybe they got a graphic person, or they got a social media person, or a copywriter. They know that they have a goal that they want to hit. They don't exactly know how to get to that next level. They realize that there's potential there. And they need someone to kind of give them that outside perspective of their true state of the union of their business, and then are willing and able to put an action, putting a plan together, taking my plan I would put together for them, and taking action on it, and willing to invest in that so that they ensure that they're going to get to where they know that they can, where they can be. So, again, I've worked with the 9 figures before in budgets, which is really, really big. But I don't need that. I need a willingness. I need something to work with. But more than anything, it's just that willingness to understand that there's a space that is that they don't work in, that they shouldn't have to, they know it's critical, but they shouldn't have to worry about. It's unreasonable to believe that they would know what to do to do what we do professionally.
Yeah.
I can't expect that you just started your business or you've been running it for a while and you did the basic stuff that you knew what to do, and expect you to know to do the rest of the things that we know. So
absolutely,
that's for me is that sweet spot. Aside from that, really, I'm willing to work with anyone that is that's finding themselves where they're lost and they just want direction, because sometimes these people just need an hour of someone's time.
Absolutely.
And I'm willing to work at that level too.
Okay. So something as we close out, something that we do here is kind of talk about yeah, man. What would be, you gave us one already, so you can't use that one you can't use that one again. But what would be a book or a course that you would recommend to a new marketer or a small business owner that's kind of at that place where I want to do better, but I'm not ready to hire you guys?
So I keep all my books like on my notes, and I make it a habit to I want to get better at reading regular books, but if I want to consume content, Audible, thank you. Mm-hmm. I keep my notes app open, and while I listen to it, I take notes of all my books and I reread them over and over again. One of my absolute favorite books is called The 7 Disciplines of Relationship Marketing.
Okay.
And what was cool is that I looked up the author. His name is Bill And I looked him up on LinkedIn, and he genuinely one of the nicest guys. And we connected on LinkedIn. We talked. I got some face-to-face time with him. We had a good half an hour Zoom video, and it was nice to be able to actually talk to the author of this book. What I loved about this essentially was about having meaningful relationships and knowing that relationships are more than just money, right? And so for me, that's essentially who I am. I'm a relationship marketer. I believe in the psychology. I know that psychology runs this world. I know what makes things work. And I'm very confident that the better I am at understanding human beings and what triggers them into the actions that I would like for them to take as a marketer, then the more successful I'm going to become, particularly because I had made it seem as if it was their idea. So that book, that the 7 disciplines of relationship marketing, it was fantastic.
Okay.
So I highly recommend that.
Good. We'll add
If
that
you
one.
want a very long read, can I give the second book?
Yeah.
If you want a very long read, is The Art of Seduction by Robert
Oh,
Greene,
yes.
who wrote the 48 Laws of Power.
Yes.
And you wouldn't think seduction is a thing. I'm sorry. All I do is make you fall in love with me. Okay? Can I tell you?
Listen.
The history has incredible examples of like seduction, of course, but this book is riddled with gold all over the damn thing.
Yeah, man.
So if you like a longer read, go for it, man. That's the one.
He's got a whole section on my bookshelf where I just have all his works because they are.
Do you follow him on TikTok?
I don't. Do I? I think I do, but his videos don't come up.
He's on there.
His videos don't come up now. They were. Now that you say that, I just realized that I probably haven't seen a video of his in probably like 3 months. So I'll have to go seek him out. You know how TikTok gets.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
I got more books. You let me know, man.
Yeah.
I got more books. Winning Moves, body language book, man. It's about especially if you're doing face to face or Zooming, man. It's monitoring your face, your mind, your body, your positioning. It's all about body language for business. That's another great book.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to exchange some book titles because I got quite a few.
Yeah.
I don't do so well with keeping them on my notes, but they're all right here so I can see them. And when people say things, triggers a title, I'm like, oh, this is the one that can help you with that. But David, I appreciate you. If you are looking to connect with David, I will drop his web address and TikTok info. Go follow him. He's got some amazing content for you to consume so you can get to know a little bit more about him and decide what's the best way for you to learn from the information that he's sharing. Thank you, everyone, for listening to and staying to the end of the Marketing Stuff podcast. Again, I'm Maurice Davis, and I'm your host. Outside of that, stay out here winning, y'all.